So I'm back to discuss Queen Sugar. I want to call this episode Picking Up the Pieces because this is after the fallout, after the release of Nova's book, after everyone has gotten a hold of the book and read the book or certain parts of the book. And now it just seems like everyone's trying to move on with their lives and pick up the pieces, of whatever they can salvage after this book has been, or after their lives has pretty much been exposed. So first and foremost, let's give it up for Remy. Remy came back, y'all, but I don't know about you all, but I'm a little nervous. Is Remy gone for good? Nah, I don't think Remy is gonna be gone for good, but I do believe it may be a while before we see Remy again. Now, I haven't watched any scenes for the next episode, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we'll probably see Remy for a while. But I don't think this is the last of Remy, especially seeing as he still has feelings for, I couldn't quite figure out which one he had feelings for. Do you all know which one is he? I mean, it sounds like he has feelings for both and he's connecting with Charlie and Nova on different levels. But as far as who he has feelings for the most, I really couldn't even figure that one out. But anyway, it was really good to see Remy come back. He just spent a little time in the diner with Hollywood and Vi. They were very excited to see him. I was a little skeptical. I thought that Vi would have an issue with Remy due to the fact that he was seeing both of the sisters, not necessarily at the same time, but still he kind of contributed to that friction between the two by seeing both of them. So I thought maybe Vi would have an issue with him because of that, but I guess because he is, as Vi put it, still family, she doesn't look at it in that way. So it was just very, very good to see Remy, very good to break up the pace of the normal characters that we have been seeing for this entire season. Plus, I think many of us, including myself, have been anticipating when, was Remy coming back, if at all. So anyway, so Nova is on her book tour and she starts taking questions from the audience, and the person that ends up being called on is actually like her ex-mentor, possibly her ex-professor, by the name of Dr. Octavia, who actually is played by the actress Cree Summer from A Different World. And I'm sure Cree Summer has done other things, but what we probably can most remember her from is her run on A Different World. So I thought it was really good to see Cree, but they blew me away when they had Cree portray basically Nova's ex-mentor / ex-lover. That blew my mind. What I also noticed and thought was a little peculiar is that when Octavia, Dr. Octavia, also played by who is played by Cree, invited Nova to her home to participate in some book discussion or whatever, or maybe Nova just showed up, I'm not sure. But when Nova showed up at the table, were some students, looks like some students of Dr. Octavia, and one of the students seemed almost identical to Nova, and Nova said to the professor or Dr. Octavia as the students left, like, "Oh, I see you got a type." So that was a little weird to me because I'm like, this cougar, this lady is a cougar basically, and that's what we doing now. That's what we doing, sexually persuading younger students. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting, and then we later discover like this is not only someone that Dr. Octavia used to, I guess, be mentored by, but this is also an ex-lover. And so they kind of reconnect, and eventually Dr. Octavia asks Nova if she can go on the book tour with her, which I'm a little skeptical about because it's like, lady, you about to drop your entire life to up and go with Nova. So at first I was like, is she clout chasing? But then I was like, I don't really know. The lady looks like she doesn't want for anything, so I don't really know what the goal is with this, so I guess we are definitely going to see how the situation between Nova and Dr. Octavia is getting ready to unfold. So Ralph Angel in this episode, what I do like is the fact that we get to see Ralph Angel connect with his friend, the female friend that he has been seeing, and they go on this picnic, and it's so sweet. But unfortunately, the picnic is immediately interrupted by a phone call, I believe from Darla, in regards to, or maybe even the school, I'm not sure, but in regards to Blue and something that went down. Before I get to that though, I just wanted to highlight the happier moment of the episode for Ralph Angel, because it seems like Ralph Angel is constantly going through it. Even when he tries to climb out of it, he ends up falling right back into it, or being pulled almost back into it, into like this pit of darkness where he's constantly brooding throughout the episode, and we're seeing him just going through it and breaking down. And I'm like, come on, let Ralph Angel have a wonderful episode and let it be long enough for him to actually enjoy it. But anyway, nonetheless, he did have some trials in this episode. So he starts off picking up Blue from home, and Blue is letting him know that Darla is in the room. I guess she's not feeling well or something, and she's like still in bed, and it kind of alerts him. He wants to go in the back and see what Darla, see if Darla is okay, but I guess to respect her privacy, he chooses not to. Instead, he chooses to text her. So then it's revealed that Darla is basically in bed, I guess you could say grieving over the fact that Nova has written this book and pretty much exposed Darla's dark past. Not necessarily secret because the family knows, but it's still her dark past that she doesn't want the world to know, and she's basically grieving that. And I'm sure, as someone who is an ex-addict, I'm sure she's also staying to herself and praying like they showed her in the episode, because she's probably also fighting with the urge to want to drink or do something to soothe that shame and that pain that she is experiencing at the moment. So I do appreciate the fact that we get to see that she prays instead of lashing out and doing something crazy, or withdrawing back to her old habits. Instead, she chooses to pray and center herself and pray for the strength to recognize, that this is just this moment, and that, it's going to pass and things like that. I really appreciated that, that particular part of the scene. Even though she was still frustrated, at least we could see that she copes with it in that manner instead of going back to her old habits. Unfortunately for Blue was on the playground, and another kid came up to Blue, and I guess this is why he was at school, because I honestly thought he was out with Ralph Angel, but apparently he was at school. And another child, a student, a peer, whatever, came up to him and was like, I overheard my mother and my aunt say that your dad is not really your dad. And this threw Blue completely off, to the point where I guess Darla ends up picking him up from school. Maybe she's the one that gave Ralph Angel the call, or the school gave him the call. Either way, he got the call that Blue was upset. He immediately came over to Darla's home, where they got Blue to come out the room, and Blue pretty much confronted both about, is he his father? So I appreciated the fact that Ralph Angel broke it down in his loving, fatherly way. He broke it down to explain to Blue that he's not his biological father. He explained in the best childlike manner that he could, or in a way that a child can interpret it, rather, what a biological father is, and that even though he's not Blue's biological father, he's still his father. He is his dad. And that was beautiful. I don't know about you all. I cried. I could not stop crying. I could not even control it. It's the emotions. And every time Ralph Angel has these moments, it's just something about his character I truly feel for. I truly feel this character, and I love this character. I love the development of this character and the maturing of this character. So I'm very connected to this character, and it doesn't take much to get me in the same emotional state as that character. And I definitely broke down in the scene. I think too, it's the fact that, there are parents out here, mothers and fathers, who will disconnect themselves emotionally from their own biological child and refuse to raise their own biological child. So the fact that you can see someone who does not have to be the biological parent of a child in order to assume that role and love that child accordingly, as if that child is theirs, no ifs, ands, and buts about it, that is something that is beyond to be celebrated. It is wonderful. It is a beautiful thing. It is something that I don't understand, because I haven't been there. I have my own biological children, so I haven't been there. So for someone to do that, you've got to be a purely loving human being and a purely unselfish human being to assume the role of a parent to a child that's not yours and still love that child as if it is yours. Even though he was convinced in the beginning it was, he could have left. He could have walked away, but I feel like he's too emotionally invested to have done so. But also too, it's just that love that he has for Blue. I mean, it's true, even though it's not his, even though Blue is not his, rather, the love, it's like, who could even tell the difference? The love is there, the concern is there. Like I said, you have biological parents who do not love their child the way that this man loves his child, even though the child is not his. Okay, so we have Charlie, and Charlie is pretty much kind of going through some things. It's kind of funny because you have Davis, who is tripping. He's in trouble now. He was supposed to be like some sort of professor or gym teacher or something at a at a university, and now that Nova book has been released and his cheating scandal has been released, and how he did what he did has been found out, there are now students on campus protesting Davis, I guess, being hired at the university. So now he's concerned that he's going to lose his position, because after all, he retired from the NBA and took this position. This is pretty much all he has at the moment. So he's basically running back to Charlie, almost like a child running to his mother to get some help. Like, it's like, dude, get off the breast already. This woman, the woman you cheated on multiple times, even had a whole baby outside of her, she's not with you anymore. You two are divorced. Let it go. But you know, that's just the irritating part about Davis. So anyway, on top of dealing with that, Charlie ends up going to the makeshift clinic that her and Romero put together. And when she walked in, she was immediately just filled with warmth at the sight of the clinic being filled with a ton of individuals, mainly, migrant workers, who are in the clinic. Like, remember last episode, she was like, where is everybody at? Because there was barely anyone there, and Romero had to tell her, listen, they're worried about ICE. But she's like, no, it's a safe zone. But he's like, well, they're not, they're still worried regardless. And so when she walks in and she sees on this episode, it's way more people in there, this time getting checked out, bringing their families even. She's filled with excitement and just happiness immediately. Like I said, I think this is an act of redemption from her, considering what happened to the farmers on her land, the migrant farmers on her land. So I feel like this is truly an act of redemption, and it warms her heart, and it's making her feel redeemed to see that these migrant workers are showing up to something that she helped create, or she basically put together, with the help of Romero. Well, unfortunately, that feeling of warmth lasted all of 2 seconds, because next thing you know, which I was very shocked about, ICE came in, the deportation folk came in the deportation bastards, okay? They came in. Let me not call them folk. They ain't no folk of mine. They came in to basically raid the place and start asking everyone for their paperwork. So meanwhile, you have individuals who are in there who are citizens, but then they have family members who are not documented. So those are the individuals who end up getting arrested or getting detained. Two of the individuals was actually, I think, a worker that she knows, and it was him and his son, but like they let the youngest children stay because I guess they were born in America, so they got to stay. And it was very, very dramatic, very, very traumatic, and very heartbreaking to see this, like basically families being broken apart, that uncertainty, like, okay, what is about to happen? And even though Charlie is like, I'm gonna call you a lawyer and things like that, like how much can a lawyer really do if these ICE bastards are really like seriously hell bent on deporting these individuals? So anyway, Charlie ends up talking to this one official who does not work for ICE, but looks like he's more of a local official, and he tells her it's not the Landrys like she thought it was, because the Landrys stood to risk migrant workers as well, so why would they call ICE? And he basically said to her, listen, you're not that popular around here, and when you got that state prison project shut down, you made a lot of enemies. And he was very nasty, but very informative, because it definitely opens up Charlie's eyes and the viewer's eyes to the fact that the Landrys are not the only enemies that Charlie has, and there's no telling who else out there was affected by the shutting down of the prison project, and how they plan on making Charlie pay for it. So now we understand that Charlie basically has a whole nother enemy. But anyway, Charlie ends up meeting with the former councilwoman who Jacob Boudreaux he's looking to take, and the councilwoman basically tells Charlie, yes, there are many people who are aware that you hired this private investigator, Vicky, to go through old land records. So therefore, yes, you have enemies out here. And that basically the Landrys taking over this highway project, they're basically trying to take this highway from St. Thomas, and that if Charlie wants to stop it, because the project is looking to go through within 6 months, which is soon. So if Charlie wants to stop it and stop Jacob and the Landrys, then she's going to have to pretty much either team up with St. Thomas or run for councilwoman. And I think for Charlie, she's thinking about going with, running for councilwoman. So this is really about to get very interesting on Charlie's behalf. She's dealing with this situation. Then what I do like is the fact that when Davis came along to ask for her help in regards to this situation, like basically just taking Charlie as the cleanup woman, whatever mess he makes, he's used to Charlie cleaning it up. What I like is that she said, no, you come out, you be honest about your mess, you deal with the consequences. It is what it is. I appreciate that, because that is why Davis thinks that he can keep running back to Charlie, because that is what he's used to. He's used to Charlie being the cleanup woman. Well, Charlie got her own mess to clean up. She ain't got time for you and whatever grown man mess you done put yourself in. So I highly appreciated that. Another situation we had in here that intertwines with Charlie is the fact that Micah went to visit his friend who is in jail from that fire that took place on that I believe old slave land or slave slave site, slave master house site, or however you say it, that fire that took place there, and that young man took the fall for it. Well, he's not even a young man, that boy, I think he's like in a juvenile center. He took the fall for it, even though it was many of them involved, including Micah. Well, Micah went to visit him in like the facility, the correctional facility, or detention facility, whatever they call it, and he can clearly see his friend is doing his best to stay up, and Micah's like, I feel like all of this was for nothing. And the friend like, listen, you can't come out here and visit me and say things like this is for nothing, because that would mean I'm in here for nothing. And I really appreciated that. It kind of reminds me of a lot of things that highly melanated beings have been through in this country, and how we still, even to this day, have activists, have individuals that had boots on the ground. We still have individuals today that are exiled or incarcerated or hiding because of the fact that, they're still being punished for standing up for the people. And it's like, as of today, there's so many of us highly melanated beings who take this for granted, take what the freedoms that we have today for granted, and refuse to fight and stand up for ourselves and for our people, that, it's like almost a spit in their face. So that scene of that young man, or that boy rather, saying, listen, you can't say this is for nothing, because then that would mean I'm here for nothing. That definitely resonated with me. And to honor him, Micah decided to get a tattoo on his shoulder dedicated to his friend. I can respect that. Now I'm gonna say this, Charlie's reaction to that tattoo is exactly how I feel any mother's reaction would be, including myself. Now, why I am, proud to be who I am, proud of my highly melanated beings, and proud to be a part of us, and I get where he coming from. As a mom, it's like, okay, I get it. You want to honor your friend, but boy, you could have asked me, you could have at least had the audacity to ask me, because now you creating friction between you and I, and it's about respect. It's about understanding that I'm your mother, and that, you know, you're still a child. You know, I get you're trying to honor your friend, but then on top of it, he got drunk in order to get the tattoo, and Charlie did notice that as well. And Charlie said, listen, if you're not gonna listen to me, let me know who you will listen to so I can call them. I really appreciated that. So I know Micah meant well, but at the end of the day, he is still not an adult yet, and he is still living with his mom. So yes, he should have asked for permission, but I do in the end still respect the fact that he wants to honor his friend and chose to do so. So finally, we have Violet, who seems to be doing way better in this episode than she was doing in the prior episodes since the release of Nova's book. We also see that Hollywood is still giving her that reassurance that she really needs at the moment, letting her know, you know, no matter what, he's still with her. I like the fact that he finally, you know, kind of just got with her and let her know he recognizes what she's going through, and he wants her to open up to him, and which she did, telling him that, you know, even though Jimmy Dale is not physically present, what he has done to her still is inside of her, and the way that he treated her, how she felt, is still inside of her. And Hollywood is like, okay, I get it, but I'm not going anywhere. You know, I'm here, and we're going to get through this together. Can we just take a minute for Hollywood? I keep telling y'all, Hollywood is the bomb. You know, he may not know what to do all of the time, but you know, he's for someone who isn't necessarily prepared for such a situation, he's doing a great job at being more than just a lover to Violet, but a friend, you know, and a protector. Like, oh my gosh. So anyway, basically the episode ends with well, I'm not necessarily at the very end, but we do see, and this might be at the very end, but anyway, we do see that Violet gets in bed with Hollywood, and even though you can clearly see there's still some discomfort with him touching her, we do see that at least she gets in the bed and does at least allow him to put an arm around her. But we can clearly see that it is going to take time for Violet to work through what she is feeling. We don't know what that man put her through. We only got a taste of what Jimmy Dale is like and what he has done to her. So it's clear that it's going to take Violet some time to work through this. So anyway, I'm excited. Leave a comment. Let me know what you all thought about this episode. I can't wait till the next episode, but I will see you all when it's time. Peace.